Hi, I'm Greg from RVHaulers. Would you like to see an RV hauler in the raw? This is the Volvo we've named Copper Top. And in this video, I'm going to take you on a tour of a truck, what one looks like before we do our RV hauler conversion. A lot of people are looking for their own truck, and I thought I would make a video that explains what to look for in a candidate RV hauler. Here we go. Join me in this video. What we do at RVHaulers is we take commercial highway tractors, Volvos, Kenworth, Peterbilt, Freightliners. We take these commercial trucks and we convert them to look like that. What I want to show you in this video is what it's really like to check out trucks, try to find those cream puffs. There's a lot of abused trucks out there. There's a lot of ones that have been rode hard and put away wet, and I've been looking for my customers. I've been looking for the ideal RV hauler candidates, and we came across this one just yesterday. And one of the things I always point out to my customers is the nice ones go fast. So when you find a really nice candidate truck, you got to move quickly. Remember, other people are looking for the nice ones too, not just RV hauler folks, but commercial drivers too. They appreciate a truck that's clean and maybe non-smoked, and it's been cared for, one where you get a little bit of provenance, right? I never buy a truck just from an auction, or even I'm hesitant to buy them, frankly, from dealers, because I want to meet the owners. I want to learn about how they've taken care of it, what their maintenance practices have been like. I want to get their maintenance history. I want to get their repair history. I want to know what's been done to this truck in its life. There's a huge variability in price. And frankly, I'm not buying the cheapest trucks for my customers. I'm buying the nicest ones, and the nicest ones are not the cheapest ones. So let me give you a bit of a tour outside and inside this truck. And as well, we've spent hours going over this truck. I've driven it, and we've got a very thorough inspection that we've done on this truck, and I can tell you what we found. When we have an RV hauler project, we don't just want to go buy a truck for a customer. We want to make sure that we do our due diligence up front. We do oil sample analysis, we do inspections, we do test drives, and make sure that we don't have surprises in the conversion process that are going to appear. So let me turn the camera around. Copper Top, as I'm calling him today, is a 2015 Volvo Model 670. So this is the tall sleeper, right? If you look at the height, it's the tall version. This is also a little bit shorter sleeper in this dimension. If you compare it to the RV hauler Dusty back there, you see how it's got two windows in it? Two windows stacked on top of each other. That's a 780 in that year range. That's what they called it. And this is a 670 because it's only got the one window up top. Let me show you another comparison. There is the truck named Constig. He's going to be converted into an RV hauler shortly. That is a Volvo Model 730. So in height, it's a little bit shorter. So when you compare to Dusty, you see that the sleeper is a little bit taller. So that truck is 11 feet 3 inches tall approximately. That RV hauler is 13 feet 3 inches. And Copper Top is the same height. So he's 13 feet 3 inches. Now let me talk about height for just a quick sec before I start to show you scratches. My customers always tend to be drawn to the little bit shorter sleeper. When they first start looking at these trucks, they think, shorter truck, I'm worried about branches and going into campgrounds and things like that. But what I'm always careful to point out to people is you're not trailblazing. You know, here's our New Horizons fifth wheel. Fifth wheels and motorhomes are all 13 feet or a little bit more in height. This trailer is 13 feet, 5 inches to the air conditioners. So when we're looking at one of our RV haulers, being 13 feet 3 inches tall. Other people have gone into campgrounds before you. They've taken their fifth wheels, they've taken their tall motorhomes, they've made sure that the branches aren't in the way, or maybe they've cleared them for you. So don't be afraid of looking at a little bit taller candidate truck if you're concerned about height. Your trailer is actually a little bit taller than the truck. So when you're shopping for a truck, everybody goes online and they're looking at truck paper and places like that. And there's such a huge variety in price, or variability in price, and a range in price. The single most important variable that I think affects the price of a truck is the mileage, more so than the model year. Mileage matters. So that's the first variable that you want to look at. And Copper Top has got about 556,000 miles on it. Remember, the warranty on these trucks, the majority of the warranty is for 500,000 miles. So when you're comparing a truck like this with 500,000 miles to maybe a pickup truck, or thinking about a medium duty truck, you know, the pickup truck warranties are nowhere near the warranties that we find on these trucks. So this one is theoretically, it was just outside of its warranty. When trucks are in warranty, so if you're looking at a truck that's a little bit less than 500,000 miles, they tend to be much higher priced. If you were to graph them, you would see the price drops dramatically and significantly. If it's just under 500,000, it's higher, more expensive. If it's just over 500,000, the price has dropped because the warranty has lapsed. Now let's talk about some of the other things that affect price. Certainly, overall mechanical condition is going to be very important, and that's why we went into that inspection today. And I'm really happy to report Copper Top is in fantastic shape. I find trucks with oil leaks, body problems, brakes, tires that fail, kingpins that have failed, and all of those things are quite expensive to address. So those affect the price of a truck next, in my mind. So these are Michelin X-Line Energy tires. They're a very high quality tire. If you watched any of my previous videos, you know, these little arrows that are on the tires, on these steer tires, when a tire is new, that little arrow is full, like it's a full size. And as a tire wears down, this word steer in the arrow disappears. Quality tires with lots of tread remaining. Now what you'll always find is these trucks have been on the road, they've been working, and you have to be able to look past the dust and the dirt. This is the way we picked up this truck. It's a little dusty, it's a little dirty, and you'll even see, you know, some little scratches in the paint, and you have to look past those because those things can be repaired. The scratches can be taken out. We can make these trucks look very pretty. We will also find, you know, little dings, and, you know, this chrome piece is stuck out. You know, don't get distracted by those things. That can be fixed. We can take this off, straighten it, and put double-sided tape and the 3M promoter back on there and fix it. Look past things like these rusted plugs. They're always like this. This has always been one of my bugbears. I replace these, replace the guts in behind it too, so that the shore power and the engine heater plugs are repaired. But overall, if we were to wash this truck, it'd be pretty. Let's talk about fuel tanks for a sec. Another thing that we're drawn to these trucks is the fuel capacity. So on average, I will usually find trucks that have got 125 gallon tanks times 2. Remember, we don't get a full 125. There's always some airspace in the top. We can't fill them all the way up. So you end up getting a little over 108 or 5 gallons out of a 125 gallon tank. These happen to be 150s. This is more of a rarity. Finding the bigger tanks is harder. Now, I always tell people, well, you're probably going to have to go to the washroom, or you're going to have to pee before you fill up the tank. There's no worry about that. You know, with 125 gallon tanks, we've got over 2,000 miles of fuel on board. In our travels, we can pick the places that have the good fuel prices and plan to buy fuel where it's cheap. Don't hang your hat on trying to find 150 gallon tanks. Look beyond that. Whatever the tanks are, they're probably pretty good. One thing you do lose with 150s is you lose storage space. So if you're thinking about putting a bed on this truck, those fuel tanks go back quite a bit further than the 125s do. So you lose some space. When you look at the paint condition, be aware it's really common to find little scratches back here, but what I'm happy to see on this truck is with the nice fenders that have been protecting the debris from flying forward, the back of the sleeper is in super duper shape. Those little marks that you see there, that's just dirt. See how they wipe off? So those aren't chips in the paint, that's just a bit of dust debris. And even the hoses, they haven't been scratching on the back of the sleeper. We've also inspected the airbags on the cab as well as the shocks. These ones are in awesome condition. That's something you want to do. Grab that leveling valve, take it off, overinflate that leveling, or manually make it so that these airbags inflate a little bit more, and look for the cracking around the bottom of those airbags. But even if you look at the frame, you know, there's a little bit of scratch and some dust and stuff on here, but it's not all rust. It's actually in very nice shape. One thing I did notice right away, these are recaps. Not exactly my favorite, but with the fewer miles that we tend to put on our trucks, recaps can work. You know, if you're a commercial driver, some people like them, some people don't. These are not cheap recaps. These are Bandags, so they're a name brand, and they're absolutely brand new. One of the cases where, man, you've got 8 beautiful tires. Sometimes we can sell these tires and put on 4 new tires. Sometimes when they're in such great condition, this is a place where we can save some money, you know, at around sometimes $500 a tire for a good name brand tire. That's a lot of fuel. That's probably a heck of a lot of travel. And we might be able to get, you know, 8 years out of these tires before we have to replace them. Something you're going to find when you're looking at our Canadian trucks that I'm able to source is we do get snow. We got a little bit left over in the snow pile there from our winter season. It's spring here right now at RVHaulers. And what we find on our Canadian trucks are sometimes we find rear axle lockers, which is kind of nice when you're dealing with environments, even in my yard where sometimes we can get some snow, we get a little bit of mud. A rear axle locker is a really nice find. So I want to show you what that looks like. A rear axle locker looks like that. When you see a line that goes in and this kind of little parasite, that thing bumping out right there, that's the air locker actuator, and that's a nice find. Let me continue walking around the truck. So on this side too, the paint is in really nice condition. I can see somebody didn't use stainless steel bolts when they fixed this light. Obviously it became loose and they put a non-stainless bolt in there and it rusted over time. I'll be able to buff that and clean that rust off and replace this light. I also have one over here that is a different color. Don't get distracted with the small things. That different colored light we can address, not a problem. The reason I can almost tell you probably why it's a different color is the DOT rules, when you're a commercial driver, require that any light on the truck has to work, whether it's cosmetic or not. We sometimes call those chicken lights. And one of the companies that makes these is Panel Light. Driver's probably on the road, his light doesn't work, he doesn't want to get stopped, so he found that light, put it on, now he's legal. Let's talk about the deer bumper that's out here, or maybe you'd call it a moose bumper. Obviously this thing has done its job. If you look at the bottom, You can see some dents. This thing has absorbed 2 deer, and the owners reported to me that it saved the truck. An animal strike is very expensive. Many times when a deer or an antelope or a smaller animal hits these trucks, they do about $5,000 to $7,000 worth of damage. So these bumpers can be a very nice insurance policy, if you will. From protecting headlights, which are pretty expensive. You know, the animal goes into the grill, the hood. You know, these are fiberglass reinforced plastics, so they're fiberglass, they break, right? So there's a lot of paint and a lot of damage that gets done when we have an animal strike. This bumper has done its job, and frankly, it's showing its age a little bit, right? We see a few of those dents. We're not going to be able to remove them, but you know, it can be taken off. If it's not your style, that can be removed. Let's look at some of the rock chips. If you watch some of my previous videos, you know I love to count rock chips. Here's Greg again. So this one has what I would call an average amount of chips, right? It's gone through that beautiful metallic flake paint, unfortunately. We can do some paint touch-up on those, just give them a little bit of a cleanup and make them look a little bit tidier. You can see, you know, my driving lights, they all work. We've tested them all, but they're a little bit hazed and dirty. The chrome is not bad on this truck. It's actually quite good, right? I'm used to seeing a lot of rippling and bubbles over time. This one doesn't have any of that. Hood mirrors are nice. We've got the usual little, you know, I got a little chip in the plastic here, but you know, when you come back, do you really see it? No. One thing I have noticed is some of the chrome backs on the mirrors though, they're showing some chipping and some of the wear over time. We're going to want to clean that up. There is a crack in the windshield that we'll want to address. Let me take you inside next.